I welcome you on behalf of Vachana TV to know the present banking sector's functioning. Is it hopeful or what is the situation of Indian banking system?
Sir, Indian banking system, it's kind of very sophisticated. I'm not very much qualified to comment on the Indian
No, not
banking system.
commenting.
But of late, what I personally feel is system is going under a paradigm shift.
Okay.
So, from a banker's perspective, I'll tell from a banker's perspective, a lot of roles currently or until very recently was considered critical would be going into redundancy.
Okay.
For example, um, front officer or a cashier, the jobs of a cashier might be extinct in few days because automatic digital machines might come and the front desk inquiry might be entirely shifted towards with AI replaced by AI, and there are banks like DVS who are doing this with 8 branches, who are doing a kind of business which other banks are doing with 300, 400 branch with 8 branches.
Yeah.
Asset light, digital heavy, distribution heavy, digital distribution heavy. So this is the banking heading towards, where the banking infra is heading towards. But when it comes to the credit delivery, I think banks are still reluctant to take, higher risk call, since even now the deserving, people don't have the credit, who are not included into the formal system, still they are at the mercy of, now previously it was money lenders, now it is like you can see a microfinance institution because they typically charge 22-24%. Even RBI has curbed few microfinance institutions. So I think for a banking sector to be considered developed, I think everyone to be included into the system. I don't know with the current risk framework how it would be.
No,
RBI
you are
has
talking
to
about the physical structure and changes of physical scenario.
correct.
Whereas competition with nationalized and private banks, role of private banks, especially when the matter comes of advancement.
Sir, I might be considered, in
No,
other
no,
ways.
but
No, okay.
frankly
See,
speaking, why?
frankly speaking, nationalized banks are lagging behind,
Yeah,
because private banks are answerable to their investors, answerable to the board. They want to increase their valuations, book. So how a valuation for a for a MD of a private bank, his priority will be to maintain a book, good quality assets, giving value for the value creation for the investors, and building the brand.
okay.
But when it comes to a PSB, it is the MD do not have all the freedom a private bank's MD will have.
Yeah,
So they are bound by the government whenever government
RBI.
asks. Not RBI is applicable for private banks also.
Okay.
I'm just talking about the because for a PSB government is the owner. Even tomorrow I become finance minister and I run the banks because I am as a when a politician is running a business,
He thinks in a
he
different
thinks in a different
perception.
way. Even I become a finance minister, I will be running the bank in a way that is not very much healthy for a bank to grow, because my dividends are different. As a politician, my different dividends are different. My focus is different because I wanted to, extract maximum money out of the bank, and because I am running in short of deficit, my treasury is running short of deficit. So PSB dividends and surplus, I wanted to extract all the profits, and because my government is running short of money, right? So I will not reinvest in the business. I will take out. When you don't reinvest and keep developing, your competitors will still eat. When I joined the bank in 2014, the biggest competitors were corporation banks, for us, for me. The
SBI.
SBI is still there. SBI is an outlier. I'm talking about Corporation Bank, Union Bank, PNB.
The
So
banks who
now,
are merged now.
no, even the banks,
The
absorbed,
existing.
yeah, those banks also. They were the biggest competitors. But when you go to a good company today, a good industry, these banks are not there. Previously, they would have started with these banks. When those companies were startups. Every industry was a startup once upon a point of time.
In the beginning,
Yeah.
naturally.
So these are the bank of likes of Union Bank, Bank of Baroda, Central Bank would have been the funders. But over the time, they were not able to cater the rising aspirations of those promoters. That is where the private banks filled in the vacuum. So now the creamier business are with private
Private
banks.
banks.
So that's how nationalized banks are going to the non-creamy,
To
business.
investment part,
High risk
high risk
borrowers
you
are
take.
going. So the NPA is on the rise. So every government has to bail out. Liquidity injection has to be given time to time. So that's all.
Overall financial condition of the nation and growth of the condition, how do you feel? Because recently I had been to Japan.
Sir,
They have their own comments on us. That's why I'm
okay.
asking.
Sir, I might be having a very myopic view with what I see, because I am dealing with people, MSME and mid corporate
Okay.
segment. So I feel there is a shortage of demand. There is no demand. If you take, the cars are not selling. For example, I'm talking with the dealer. Uh, 10 lakh Tata car is not selling. Maruti's market share has come down
Gone
from
down.
60% to 40%
Yeah.
or something. 10 lakh Maruti car is not selling. 10 lakh Mahindra is not selling. Mahindra's 30 lakh variant is selling. But on the other side, Benz has introduced, due to the demand and
Middle class segment they introduced.
no, they have introduced a custom-made, tailor-made cars.
Yeah.
It denotes that there is more demand in the system for Benz, but there is no demand for 10 lakh
Middle class.
rupees car. So it means that the middle class is, shortage of money. For example, how I would see the situation is, government has recently cut down the income tax, has given some relief, 1
Yeah,
lakh
7 to
relief.
7 to they increased.
See, that will not impact much.
They
Because
don't go to
for
buy for that anything.
no, instead, I think they should have cut down on the indirect tax.
Yeah. Passive tax should be reduced.
Huh. For example, assume I am a guy in Bidar. I have a Tata Ace. My profession, my profession is I'm, driving a for hire Tata Ace or whatever vehicle. So when GST is reduced, my input cost is going to reduce. So more money is going to be with me. I am going to spend. So demand will be created, right? So if you are cutting, I am earning, for example, I am earning 50 lakhs per year, and you are giving me, saving me 1 lakh. Even if you don't give, I will either I will not spend it, or I will spend.
Yeah.
That 1 lakh is not going to matter. That is not going to create a demand in the system. Instead of that, if you have given that 1 lakh to a guy in Bidar who is running, whose annual income is 5 lakh, that 1 lakh will create a lot of demand, is how I see.
But
Might be wrong
taxation,
also.
cutthroat taxation is reason comparatively rest of the countries in the world.
Sir, taxation, rest of the country, when you compare, it is less.
Yeah.
I don't consider India to be a exorbitant tax regime.
Even advanced countries, they never encourage digital transaction because they use directly currency to avoid taxation on middle class and poor. That's the reason I
Yeah, I
told.
think that is what we were
Yeah.
speaking. We give tax breaks for industrialists, but the the middle class people, for the employees, the tax burden is heavy, 30
Yeah,
percentage. I
naturally.
can't do any depreciation. I can't do any,
How,
fancy
how about new
accounting.
companies upcoming? How do you manage and how do you think? In what way you take the risks of investing like Anubhav Megacity people? When
No,
when topic comes, what's your
investments
role
as a banker or as
as
a,
a banker?
see, Anubhav Megacity thing, I can come up, instead of, going in a going on Anubhav Megacity, I can tell on a real estate, development,
Yeah.
project
What's the
development.
role of banks to establish invest on real estate?
So, for a city to develop,
Hmm.
for a city to, when a city will develop, when people from other part of the regions has to,
Shift.
settle. They
Like
should
three
like to,
tier cities.
yeah. No, for any city, any places to, for example, if Bidar has to develop, people from nearby villages has to come to
To be
Bidar.
shifted.
They should have some reason to come to Bidar. If Hyderabad has to develop, first people from other parts of Andhra should like
Should
to come
shift.
to, should like
Yeah,
to
migrate to
Hyderabad.
migrate.
They should be willing to migrate. Then next stage is from other part of country. They should be willing to migrate. Why Bangalore is attracting people is because you have infra, and without, to develop an infra you need land, labor and capital. So for anyone, for an above or XYZ, so when you are developing, investing on a land, it's for a longer term. It's a for a game which we are thinking that, you need a vision for to make a real
To
estate project.
attract, you have to
Attract,
make a
you need a
plan to
vision.
attract.
So, for example, people used to say that Chandrababu Naidu had a vision for Hyderabad. S.M. Krishna had a vision for Bangalore,
Karnataka.
Karnataka, Bangalore. Karnataka is
Bangalore,
Bangalore. S.M.
particularly
Krishna.
Bangalore to attract this IT hub.
Yeah. So, real estate is very vital part when it comes to development. So, how banks play a role is, banks have very very, banks are technically regulated. So, real estate where it is going to generate employment, development, banks are allowed to fund. Banks would definitely support.
There should be some hope to invest.
See, for banks, fundamental is there should be cash flow,
No.
because
Returning ability.
banks are funded by public, so they cannot lend on their whims and fancies. So we are bound by
No,
RBI regulation, right?
you can liberal when your MD decides or board of
No,
management.
no, 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 no.
No, no,
Bank
you
has
will
a,
understand the regulations, but when you want to encourage newcomers,
newcomer. See, whatever we have to. There is a framework.
within the framework also.
Within the framework, if they are fitting only, we can do. Banks can do. For example, a person may be for a, I have come up with a lot of cases where a person might be very much genuine. He would have been very much genuine. He wanted to business, but long back he would have given a guarantee to some of his friends, to some vehicle loan or something. It would have got defaulted.
Yeah.
So within the framework of the bank, we will not be able to lend that customer because
Civil is
CIBIL is
damaged.
there. So whatever it is, it has to fit in the, for a bank to fund. It has to fit within the framework given by RBI or the loan policy. Because since we are dealing with public money, it's we have to be extra cautious.
Then what is the difference between nationalized banks and private banks? If you apply your rules very strictly to support,
Sir, it's not that. Rules are there. Rules are common. For example, you have cricket. For cricket, rules are same for Indian team, Australian team, and West Indies or Kenyan team. So how you play, how you choose the players, how the players deliver, that matters. If you have politics in choosing the players, then the game you cannot, though the rules are same,
global
you cannot,
concept is
yeah.
there for everything, Global concept is there to support any new moderate, startups?
Hmm. So startup should be, startups defy traditional banking thing.
Yeah.
So that's why the startup ecosystem has been funded by your angel and seed investors, venture capitalists. So startup is something a different ballgame, and their business metrics are different because when they are more focused on the top line initially, market reach, than the bottom line. So startup
See,
economics
if,
is
if
different.
Alam Prabhu is visionary, if you like his vision, and as a whole sum, if you look at the projects and all, when you feel it is comfortable within the framework, how do you respond to such kind of cases?
So, so banks are first five or six cardinal principles. Like first is promoter. Promoter's track record has to be clean. He should have the intention and ability to pay.
Ability to pay and monitor.
Intention.
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 Okay,
First
okay.
intention.
Yeah.
There are people who have the ability but no intention. So first he need to have intention, the ability to pay, ability to run the business. So that comes in the promoter this thing. Second, are we comfortable with the business? How the business is treating its vendors? How the business is treating its suppliers? Customers, employees. See, if what is the point if the business is not paying the salaries properly to the employees? So you cannot consider it as a good business. So promoter, how the business treat its stakeholders, and then for a bank, collateral is important. What if? Because every business is prone to some kind of risk.
Yeah.
Okay, for every any business. So in case a risk hit the business, bank has to recover the money because it belongs to public
You
money.
have experience with Malya and all.
I personally don't have.
No, recently in
Luckily,
his podcast, he has told very clearly.
uh, I would, still, the facts are not that, the cases are still, it is in
Pending.
Supreme Court. I think
No, no,
there
whenever
is
you,
other
when
side.
see, whenever bankers look at only big shots,
Sir, only extraordinary customers default, first of all.
and then
That is why collateral, risk is there.
to
So
cater the risk factor,
bank need to protect itself and collateral is too important. And cash flow. Third is cash flow. Or cash flow and collateral has to be
match.
maybe cash flow is one notch before collateral. So cash flow, how the product thing, end use and cash flow. For example, if I'm giving the fund, where it is going. For example, I cannot fund you to purchase the land. It is prohibited by RBI. But I can fund you to build a hotel because it is going to generate
Flow the money.
employment. It is going to, circulate the money. Money multiplier effect will come. And it is for a productive purpose. I can, if you already have a land, I can fund for building a hotel or anything of that sort. End use, yeah, end use and cash flow from after using how the money you invested in what rate ROI, in what rate it is going to
Return.
return to you. So these are all the major factors. If all these check boxes are there, yeah, we can give. And of course, the funding has to be allowed by RBI
Norms.
norms. It should fit within the regulation norms.
So whereas national banks, there is interference of politicians, finance minister. To private banks, you don't have that kind of risk, I
Sir,
say.
I have never worked in nationalized bank, so I don't know what kind of interference they actually face.
No,
But
no, at least you don't
but
have any
ownership,
interference.
yeah. In private banks, there
You
is
have no any
no.
interference.
It's things are pretty transparent, and it's yeah logic rational oriented.
Yeah. Whenever you want to support, promote, there should that creative concept should be with the bankers also.
Yeah, we can use our creative liberty to support, to accommodate a proposal to an extent where it is
should
not breaching
it's
the
not
law.
crossing the
Yeah,
law.
yeah, we definitely, because we have a lot of first time
Liberty.
no, we have lot of first time entrepreneurs who we funded
You
when
have
it
any
was a
examples that the bank kind
examples.
of
Maybe one example is our Ramesh sir. Yeah, so we have a lot of see any bank for that matter.
Okay.
It has they had grown because they have supported some businessman at when they required. So definitely they will do.
Thank you. You have focused on so many issues.
Thank you, sir.
I once again extend my wishes to you
Yeah.
because you have immediately entered into podcast and with the help of your experience, you have explained in a limited.
Yeah, I have very limited experience and
No,
thanks
no, no.
for
You have explained in a compact manner. I don't say it's a limited experience.
Yeah.
No experience is limited for a man who tries to understand the things well.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.